Right, episode 69. For a wee bit of a week's break, I'll apologise now. I've had a very busy personal life and football life going on. I'm a league champion though, so I couldn't really care. Tonight we have, as I said a few episodes ago, we're going to try and get a bit deeper into the Highland League the next couple of months, over the next year or so. Start going out to a bit more clubs that we've maybe not featured as much. Tonight is a man who could tell me pretty much anything you need to know about his club. It's Charlie Simpson. Keith, how you doing, Charlie? You fine?
I'm doing finely. Yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I was just speaking to you before when we came on. We've had Colin Hendry, we've had Cammy Keith. I've got a feeling I've had somebody else that's maybe played for Keith at some point in their career, but it's never been the main part of their career, okay, you know. But you've got a different view, different point of view on the club, Charlie, because you're involved at every level going, apart from playing, and have been up and down for how many years you've been associated with kind of working with the club?
We're coming up for about 48 years.
Aye. So a long time. You've seen it.
Aye.
Oh, a lot of comings and goings in that time.
They've never found me out yet.
Maybe we'll after tonight, Charlie. So yeah, we've got Keith. We're going to be looking into try if somebody's got any contacts or Wick, get in touch with me, because it's another club that we've not probably shined enough light on it, being a part of the Highland League for a long time. So Charlie, I always start off the podcast the same. Same with everyone. First question and last question is always the same, because it just gives me an idea a bit about you and before football, even though the question is about football. So how good a football player were you when you were a young bairn?
Well, sadly, I wished I'd been able to play for Keith. That is one thing. But growing up, well, I loved playing football, but played once or twice for the school team. I went to Banff Academy, and they had A teams and B teams. So the A team was obviously the best team, and then the B team was the second best. So I was in the B team.
Aye, same here.
So I think they're right about there.
What position did you play?
I was centre half.
Aye.
I grew up a place called Ordie Quill. I grew up with the four Roger brothers, and two of them, one Graham, played in my youth team a while, and then he went to Forres and won the league championship. Played for Forres and Bucky Thistle. And Neil, who's sadly no longer with us, won league championships at Setright Keith and also at Forres Mechanics.
Aye.
So they had the skill, but I didn't.
Wasn't that contagious?
No.
So before we get into Keith, have you got any other football teams you support, Charlie?
Well, I'm a lifelong Everton fan.
Everton fan, that's an interesting one.
One of my older brothers, John, he was a Hearts diehard, and they sold this guy called Alex Young to Everton when I was about 5, maybe 6, and I can remember him going on and moaning about it.
Aye.
And he kept scrapbooks, and I seen photos, and the name of the park was Goodison Park, and it sounded good.
Okay.
So I started supporting him, and I've supported him. I've got in my Everton socks the night sad me. The last sort of 25 odd years hasn't been great.
No.
But I support him through thick and thin.
Aye, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you have a football idol growing up? You just mentioned someone. Did you have kind of local idols, people you watched? Well, maybe not watching the telly, but bigger names that you looked up to.
Well, mentioned Everton, that sort of scale. The Alex Young, it played for Everton. He'd blonde hair, and he was called the Golden Vision. So he's an Everton icon. He was big in the 1960s. Won the league championship and the FA Cup. And in the mid-60s, about 67, 68, there was a TV play written about him. It was broadcast on BBC One called The Golden Vision.
Okay.
I never met him. I was on the verge of meeting him, and he took ill. He stayed in Edinburgh, and sadly he died 5 or 6 years ago. I also had a wee thing about Jimmy Johnston. When I was little, I supported Celtic, Lisbon Lions, and I didn't follow them quite the same now, but wee Jimmy, red-haired and 5'3", and apart from being a tremendous winger, he was a great character. And unfortunately, neither Everton or Celtic have got anybody quite like that these days.
Not at all.
No.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Jimmy when he played in the Highland League?
No, I saw him playing, but he was at Elgin briefly, I think it was.
Yeah.
But my main my Keith idol was a guy called Keith Rattray. He stayed in Banff, and he was a policeman, so he was called the bustling Bobby for Banff.
Okay.
And he was a centre forward, and he scored about just over 100 goals, 101 goals the 6 or 7 years he was at Keith. And where I'm from was 10 mile for Keith, stayed in a croft, halfway between Keith and Banff. So the only way to get to watch games if my brother wasn't taking me was biking. So you'd bike 10 miles up to Keith. My brother worked in the coach builders across the road for the Kynoch Park. It's now a laundry. I could leave my bike there, watch a game, bike back down the road, and you'd be halfway home, and Keithy Rattray would be driving down the road, and he would toot and wave at you see. So Keithy Rattray's just wave.
Felt like celebrities at that point, aren't
they?
Aye.
And I can remember I was playing Bucky Thistle, and that's fun. He really became my sort of my idol. One of my school pals, no relation, but he was a Simpson, Jimmy Simpson for Portsoy, come up to stay with me the weekend. And we'd go up to, Keith was playing Bucky Thistle. So we got a lift up, and Keith won 8-1.
Wow.
And Rattray scored 4. And again, you maybe think, down through the years, you maybe tend to exaggerate a wee bit. He had a tremendous shot on him. And 3 of them in particular were just absolute belters.
Aye.
So of course, my pal Jimmy, I can remember, he says, does he do that every week? Of course, I said, oh, aye. That season he scored 40, so he was pretty much doing it most weeks he can.
Absolutely. Just to quickly touch on Everton, I think it was, we're probably going back to episode 5 or 6. I had an Everton fan in Ian, and he was always going on about Bob Latchford. Bob Latchford was his favourite player.
The Latch.
Was you a fan of him yourself?
Aye. Yeah. Aye. That was in the 70s. I saw him playing. Down at Stamford Bridge. They were playing Everton. I was on holiday and I was doing for a week. Went to the game. I used to have a pin badge. It was a blue badge with white writing, and it said, "Jesus saves, Bobby Latchford scores the rebound."
That's pretty good. I like that.
He scored 30 goals, 30 league goals, 77, 78, and there was a prize of £10,000 put up by the Daily Mail. And what he did was he divided it out amongst his teammates.
That's brilliant.
And I think he ended up with something like, the figure was something like £192 he got.
Wow. Okay.
He was deadly.
Yeah.
The Latch.
Right, here's a throwback for you, Charlie. What's your first memory of Keith Football Club? First ever memory?
Oh, cripes. Well, my older brother, John, he was into the football. I can vaguely remember going with him to 1 or 2 games in 61, 62 when Keith first won the league. I can remember sitting in the stand and waiting for him to go and get autographs of the players after the games.
Aye.
My probably first real memory would have been about the tail end of 67, 68 when I actually cycled up that game at the end of the season, and I think it was Ross County, and I think Keith lost 2-1. It was a case of, so this was great because I'd been reading about who was going to be playing in the paper this morning, and here's them playing, Ross County guys and Keith guys. So that was great, but the result was a wee bit irrelevant, really.
Yeah. Aye.
So I think that was probably, and then I would bike down to Cornhill, the local village, a couple of mile away at night, and you got your green final, and you got the results and the reports of the games.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was doing it regularly. You thought, you've reading about the game that I was at this afternoon.
Aye.
And when you're 13, 14, how could that happen?
It's green final. You'd be surprised how much that gets mentioned on here, the green final, because that was everybody's Google back in the day.
That's right.
And it's like, and as you say, it was fresh off the press. It was printed and straight out the door.
Yeah,
and it's.
I
think it's a lost treasure. That
it's my scrapbooks for my sad existence. I've been keeping scrapbooks since I was about 13, and they're full of profiles of players and match reports and just snippets of this and that, things that you didn't get in other papers.
No.
Just an absolute treasure chest.
Aye, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, here's a big one for you. Who's the best player you've seen playing the Maroon?
Oh dear. Right, that's a tough one now. I mean, I've seen so many top players playing for Keith. Probably sit here all night and rattle off dozens upon dozens of them. Top goalies, defenders, midfielders, wingers, centre forwards, deadly goal scorers. I think I've been quite lucky over the last 50 plus years, 55 years to see so many.
Yeah.
Before I give I've narrowed it down to two, but I would say the likes of Bobby Gray's the best goalie I've ever seen in the Highland League. Ian Cupdown Mackay's probably one of the best, if not the best, fullbacks I ever saw. Eric Wilson, the best centre-half I ever saw playing for Keith. Midfielders like Charlie Elvin, Louis Duncan, Andy Fettis, Darren Still, Bobby Samuel, who was with us a wee while in the late 60s. He was really classy. And Hamish French. Mikey Winton, who sadly passed away last year, he was fast. And what a shot he had in him. Johnny Curran, who played, I think, in 9 different positions for Keith.
That's mental. It doesn't happen these days.
I mean, centre forwards like my hero Keith Rattray, Kevin Bremner for Foggy, the Foggy Fury, Charlie Barber, great goal scorers like Ali Christie, we called him the king of the 6-yard box. Cammy Keith, Derek Nichol, and Raymond O'Hara. He was astonishing. Raymond's the deadliest goal scorer I ever saw. But at the end of the day, you were wanting the best player. So I can't really separate the two. I've plumped for Charlie Elvin and Hamish French.
Yeah.
Charlie was, we call him Charlie Twinkletoes Elvin. He was freed by Aberdeen because they said he was too small.
Heard that a lot before him.
So Keith snapped him up, and he was a midfield genius. He was a star player when we won the Highland League Cup 3 seasons in a trot.
Aye.
73, 74, 75. He was just, and I forgot that he was only 19 at the time.
That's wild, aye.
And it was just, he scored some ridiculous goals, and he was one move ahead. He seemed to see things, so his passes were just, he would pick boys out 30, 40 yards, and he would just cut out players just at the snap of a finger.
Aye.
And he was a master for the penalty spot as well. I think he ended up scoring something like 45 goals for Keith for about 176 games. 25 of them was for the penalty spot.
That's a good record, that.
Then Brechin City came in for him, and they pinched him. And in 1978, I thought Keith were a bit like bacon without eggs when he left.
Aye, yeah.
Took me a while to get over that.
It does. It always does.
But that was just the way of the world. And then neither in Hamish French, he come from Fermart, and they were still a junior club at his side. And Hamish was only 18. That would have been back in 1982. And the strange thing was, or the funny thing was, Bobby Wilson signed him in the Buckeye Thistle dugout down at Victoria Park.
Okay.
And Hamish wasn't a speedster or whatever, but he could move. He could move across the ground, very skillful. he was in the same humour, grinning, and he got some fearsome tackles in that, and he would just grin and get up.
Aye.
I think he scored a hat-trick in his very first game against Rothas,
Wow.
a League Cup tie. And that season he ended up our top scorer with 16 goals, I think it was. And you could maybe ask, how much of an impact did he make in his first season? Well, he ended up being voted Supporters Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year, and Young Player of the Year.
That's a
He
lot.
swept the board. And he was he was probably the key player in 84, 85 when we won the league championship in the qualifying cup. So the league and qualifying cup double, which was a tough thing to do. 3 hard games against Cali in the qualifying cup final, 2 replays, 2 draws, and then the third game beat him 2-0 at Borough Briggs. 3 hard games. Hamish was an apprentice telecoms engineer, and he was serving his time in all the different clubs. And from memory, there was Celtic, Rangers, Nottingham Forest, Hibs, and Coventry. There was a few English clubs after him, but he didn't want to go anywhere until he had served his time.
Yeah.
Once he served his time, Dundee United stepped in, and even then, he didn't want to go because he didn't think he was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up getting 30,000 for him in 1987. But he was in the same humour, quiet spoken, would always speak to you. And he played in the northeast of Scotland youth league games on the Sundays as well. And there was a short spell with Joe Harper playing for us. And it was near the end of his career. He was playing in the first team. He scored 6 or 7 goals. And Bobby Wilson must have asked him to come out for a few Sunday games as well. So I was in the dressing room one Sunday, and I used to make out the team lines for that games. So you're in the dressing room before a game, and I can mind Joey being Joey, banter and everything, and trying to wind Hamish up, and was saying, I've scored more goals than you this season, Hamish, between the first team and this. And Hamish just grinned and shrugged his shoulders. I didn't think so, he says. But he was sick a nice lad.
Aye.
And I think he ended up scoring something like 62 goals for 164 games or something.
Wow.
And met him a few years ago. He was up at our centenary dinner, was centenary function. The last time I saw him, it's about 12 years ago. And he was just the same lad. He's silver fox, white hair, but still just exactly speaking the same way, just the same lad.
Yeah.
So that too, I couldn't really separate either of them.
No, it's a great choice for year 2. Just one of the names you mentioned there, I can't remember who named him. Somebody named him as the toughest player they've ever played against. Charlie Barber.
Oh, a big Charlie.
Aye, it was 6'5" or something like
He
that.
was about 6'3".
Aye,
Charlie the Demon Barber.
and just a brilliant defender.
He was a centre forward.
Sorry,
Aye.
so that's where I'm going wrong.
Uh-huh.
We had a centre. I hate to think there was somebody that was in here on our
right.
pod played against him, and they were a centre half, and he was a centre forward.
Aye.
He says you just hate playing against him.
He was a gentle giant.
I've heard that as well.
But he ended up scoring. He played in the 84-85 side along with Hamish and that, and he was scoring the goals. He was a top scorer that season with 31. He ended up scoring 125 goals for Keith.
Wow, that's
215 games. But honestly, what a shot he had to rile him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Wilson was a manager.
Aye.
So and Jimmy was a wee tiger. So he used to get exasperated. So he would tear into Charlie, try to get him G'd up. And once Charlie did get going, well, there was no stopping him.
Aye.
But a super guy. His mum and dad used to come and watch him. They used to sit at the back of the stand. And if anybody shouted, Mrs. Barber would shout out, "That's my son."
Aye.
He was a good lad, Charlie. I like it, Charlie, as well. Yeah.
Right. So you kind of answered, can you remember your first game? Do you remember 2-1, you think the score was?
I think it was 2-1 against
Charlie.
Ross County, and it was
Aye.
probably it was the beginning of the 68-69 season, I think, to be August. It was just after my birthday, so I must have just turned 13, so I was allowed to bike the 10 mile to Keith. And one of my late pals got with me, I think. But there was lots of times I just biked up myself.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yep.
Right, so since it's a World Cup year, I'm going to be adding this question in
Aye.
for the next good few episodes at least.
Yeah.
Because obviously Scotland are in the World Cup for the first time in 28 years. It feels a bit surreal, doesn't it, Charlie?
It
You're
does.
not used to it. Like, and I
no.
actually think we've got a half-decent team this time.
Aye, and they're a decent group.
Aye.
If they can, hopefully, they make a fool of themselves and win their first game. They've probably got a fighting chance of progressing.
I think so. I think so, but it'll just be the most Scotland thing, and we'll go and get a point against Haiti, and then we'll beat Brazil in the last game.
That's right.
You know, it's just what happened. You remember your first World Cup?
Well, I vaguely again remember I would have been just coming up to about 7, would have been the 1962 World Cup. And Pele played in a couple of the group games, I think, or something, and then he was injured. But Brazil progressed through, and you got bits and pieces in the TV, if I can remember. And I think they beat Czechoslovakia in the final. But there was guys like the goalkeeper Gilmar and Garincha. What did they call him? The little bird or something, was it? Vava and Zagallo. Mario Zagallo, he ended up manager.
He did, yeah.
And the one in 1970. Of course, you can't get away for the 66 World Cup because, England won't be playing all their games at home. So
that's what happens when you get all your games at home. Exactly.
But probably my favourite World Cup tournament would have been the 1971. And again, maybe time lapses and you think, it was astonishing stuff. But no, I think it was. Brazil, it's probably the best team that I've ever seen nation-wise. I mean, they thumped that top Italian side in the final 4-1.
Aye.
And Pele was probably at his peak, and Roberto Carlos and all these guys, I mean, Rivellino and everything, they were just unstoppable.
Yeah.
And the type of football that they played, I'm maybe stuck in a time warp. I didn't think you get play like that now.
No, it was free-flowing. It was Abdi get forward, you move the ball about, and they still speak about that as team to this day.
They still speak about it yet. I mean, the goals that they scored and the play that they had was just astonishing. Just astonishing.
Right. Have you got a favourite season at Keith? 'Cause you've had some very good spells throughout your time supporting Charlie, you know.
Yeah. Well, that was a hard one when you put through the questions to me to have a look at, and I thought, oh, God almighty. I mean, as you say, I've been really lucky. I've seen so many different Keith sides winning leagues and cups. The 84-85 one that I touched on that won the league championship in the qualifying cup. The following season, they then won the Highland League Cup, which meant they'd all 3 major trophies in the sideboard at the same time. With Charlie Barber and Hamish French and that, they were a top side. The Millennium Championship side for 1999-2000, when Martin Allen was manager. And that was Darren Still at his best and Derek Nicholl scoring goals. Derek ended up scoring 200 goals for Keith. And then the 100th Highland League Championship, the 2006-07, and Martin Allen was still manager. I mean, they won the league championship, the League Cup, the Aberdeenshire District Shield, lost in the final of the last ever qualifying cup. And that's when Cammy Keith was emerging. He was just 19 and he was a top scorer that season with 26. But having said all that, I've got a plump for we won the league championship 3 years in a trot. And the second of the 3, 1979-80, that was just immense. I mean, I kind of see things through maroon tinted specs, but that team with Bobby Wilson as manager it was extra special.
Yep.
It was the best I've ever seen. Each player in the squad stood out, and no disrespect to great teams and seasons that I've been part of, slightly before and more so after, and hopefully in the future, but never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
They won the league championship, the Aberdeenshire Cup, reached the 4th round of the Scottish Cup, ended up playing 41 competitive games, scored a ridiculous amount of goals, 112 goals.
Wow.
Failed to score in only 3 of them. Don't know how that happened. And Bobby only used 18 players that season.
Yep.
And your top players in Premier League and say, we're playing too many games. Well, nobody ever complained.
Aye.
They set all sorts of records. They won it was 16 teams in the league at that time, that season. They had 52 points, which was 12 points ahead of Brora Rangers. And Brora were no slouches.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was 2 points for a win.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you equated that to new, we would have won the league by 21 clear points.
That's a lot.
And at that time, and used to take great delight back in the day in seeing from bit by bit the teams went into the Scottish League. At that time, you had Calais, Ross County, Peterhead, Inverness Thistle, Elgin City, all in the league.
Yeah.
And all hard, tough teams. They'd set the defensive record the season before, losing 25 goals in the league. And I can mind thinking, blimey. Well, that season, 79-80, Bobby Gray and I suppose you would have said they were parsimonious. They lost only 20 goals and they had 16 clean sheets in the 30 league games.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's more than 50%, you know. Aye.
And I still can't get my head around it. Some of these guys, they come out 3 or 4 times a season to hospitality at Keith. They pay for hospitality and they come out and they watch the game and reminisce and we speak about it and it's just matter of fact. It's just the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Abdi jailed.
Absolutely.
It was a bit like kind of poetry in motion, you could say, really, watching him play. I mean, it was great goalkeeping, great defending. I mean, just nobody got past him.
Aye.
Silky in the midfield and strong. Louis Duncan was good in midfield and Andy Fetis was powerful. Flying wingers like Mikey Winton and Johnny Curran. And we're centre forward, Kevin Bremner and Raymond O'Hara. Well, it's the most lethal partnership I ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
They did an incredible run in the Scottish Cup. They won doing it 3 Rovers. Got by in the first round, 3 Rovers in the second round. And we were doing it Hamilton Arcades at Douglas Park in the 3rd round. And we travelled down the night afore. We stayed at Dunblane Hydro. And I was fit. I was about 24. An unforgettable experience. We gate crashed a private party. the Jim McLeod band, they were a resident band that played in the TV and everything. It was a private birthday party. And we gate crashed it. And our club secretary, Alec Rutherford Jr., it took me into the club. It was his 40th birthday. That didn't stop it. And we did. And then the following day, well, it's probably the finest Keith display that I ever saw.
Aye.
We were up 3-0, and you're sitting thinking, nah, this can't be right.
Yeah.
And then the mist started coming down, and they scored 2 late goals. Bobby Graham, he played for Motherwell and Liverpool. He was one of their big names, and Ricky Ferguson was one of the best goalies in Scotland at the time. They scored 2 late goals, but Bobby Gray, it's the best game that I probably saw Bobby ever play.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Kerr, Kevin Bremner and Raymond O'Hara, and I can see the goals being scored yet.
Aye. A big crowd?
There was about 2,500, I think, down there. And then we ended up in the 4th round, we drew Berwick Rangers at Kynoch Park. With a crowd of about 5,600. We're second biggest ever crowd. We lost 2-1. Dave Smith was a player manager. He got a late dubious penalty, would you say? So they beat us 2-1.
What kind of crowds would you reckon, Charlie, you were getting the 3 in a row kind of seasons?
Probably 3 to 350. And maybe if it was a local derby, you was getting 400 odd.
Yeah.
Especially maybe the 79-80 season, which wasn't bad for Keith, because we're a spread out kind of area. It's a rural area, really. But I thought one of the daft things for that game against Berwick, me and my late pal Robbie, there was a programme printed, and we were selling them outside 10 pence a time. So we sold about 2,900 programmes.
Jesus. Aye.
I reckon why I remember that, but it was just astonishing. And the photographs and that I've got, the place just stayed. You wouldn't get that crowd in now because health and safety and that. It was astonishing, really. But speaking about poetry in motion, I write poetry in the Doric about Keith FC and players, and down through the years I've got over 50 poems that I've compiled. So I wrote in about the win at Hamilton.
You're going to give us a...
If you was interested in reading
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. You go for it, Charlie. Give us a wee rendition. So we've got a window cleaning sponsor on.
We do.
SSS and Bros.
Yes.
But
you need someone to fit those windows, though, right?
Yeah, you need windows to clean in the first place.
Like, they can't be sitting in the garden.
No.
Biscuits on, like all fours, like cleaning with a squeegee? No, man.
He would show that level of dedication.
He would, 100%, yeah.
Pinefield Glass.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys. They'd have a hell of a football team.
They do, yeah. Like, you're close to completing, like, the legendary board, I guess.
If I ever enter a 5-a-side tournament and I see Pinefield Glass entered, I'm just walking away.
Oh my God, yeah.
Someone's getting murdered.
But that aside, Pinefield Glass are actually an official sponsor of the podcast. I don't know if you know this, Lee. Yeah.
It's weird how these things happen.
Yeah, it comes in roundabouts, right? But if you're based in the northeast of Scotland, whether that's Aberdeen, Murray, or anywhere else across the region, and you're thinking about upgrading your windows or doors, Pinefield Glass have you covered. They're one of the area's leading suppliers, if not the... no, let me rephrase that. They are the area's leading suppliers.
Their fans are everywhere.
Yeah. I'm on my way down to do photos for Lossie, and I was meeting Martin Charlesworth, and there's 3 Pinefield vans on the way down.
Yeah.
But anyway, they are the area's leading supplier of high quality UPVC and aluminium windows, doors, and glass products. Their products are designed with the Scottish climate in mind too, helping keep your home warmer through those cold North Sea winters nights, and improving energy efficiency to keep the heating bills down, which is always a good thing, cost of living and all that at the moment. Alongside windows and doors, Pinefield Glass also offer conservatory roofs, roofline products, balustrades, if I said this correctly. I hope so.
If not, there'll be someone going mental in the comments.
Yeah, they know where we live. They know where the studio is. Pergolas and composite decking. So whether you're renovating, building, or just giving your home a bit of an upgrade, they have got a solution for you. If you're in the northeast and looking to improve your home, check out Pinefield Glass and see what they can do for you. Their contact details are as follows. If you do want to get in touch with Pinefield Glass via their email at info@pinefieldglass.com, and their website simply pinefieldglass.com, and their phone number 01343 545222. Thank you to the two Martins. What was it Tiger called them? The Pinefield Mafia?
Aye.
The Pinefield Mafia for sponsoring the football journals for the calendar year. It's very much appreciated.
Appreciate your support.
Right. It's entitled The Scourge of Hamilton Accies, 1980, and all that. They said we couldn't do it. They said we had no chance. But on the 26th of January 1980, we led Hamilton Accies a merry dance. Bobby Wilson was the manager. As a gaffer, he was supreme. He'd moulded a handful of stars that made up that great Keith FC team. 3 Rovers were swept aside in the Scottish Cup second round. Then a night at Dunplaying Hydro was spent, heading for Douglas Park on the way down. Davy McParland was gaffer at Accies. In the first division, they were flying high. They thought it would be easy peasy, but for them, well, the end was nigh. There was sarcasm in the match prog. 52 bid at the luxurious Hydro, how very nice. Reading it rather irked us. The boys'll make them pay the price. The same mag also spouted forth. We hadna met a team o' that calibre afore. That wound us up even more. We'd make them feel o' sae sore. The ref, he blew his peeper to set our game o' destiny off. We were weary for a filey, o' doing wrong in that first half. But then, as time gaed on, our confidence it grew. They looked a bit feared. 5 minutes frae half-time, we made the breakthrough. The deadly duo, O'Hara and Bremner, combined, Kevin looked a set. The bar broke and pounced Colin Kerr, fired for 15 yards into the Accies net. Then, an hour on the clock it said, Colin's corner flicked on by Kevin, number 9. So we Raymond Ace O'Hara swivel and fire the bar o'er the line. Maroons fans were celebrating. Accies diehards, deep holes they were a-digging. Fin Foggy Fury, Kevin Bremner, let Fussell fae 20 yards, nearly tore the net fae the rigging. 3-0 up, Jings, you'd better believe it. Ah, but was there a sting in the tail? 2 fluky goals in the last 5 minutes had us in the stand turning o' sae pale. The mist was coming doon. Was this nae gan to be our day? But a string o' stupendous saves was made by the peerless Bobby Gray. Aye, their gast was fairly flabbered. Accies were dumped out o' the Scottish Cup third round. Maroons heroes o' that there is nae doubt. Cup tie, skipper, Dally and Big Eck in front o' the imperious Bob, defending like tigers, tackling and growling, doing Osick a marvellous job. In midfield, Louis Duncan chased and harried. Powerhouse Andy Fettis never gaed an inch. Wi' goal hero Colin helping out. A hame win was never a cinch. John Curran Jr., a man o' money positions, was here, there and everywhere. File subbies Dennis Bruce and Neely Roger made sure Accies were driven to despair. Of course, Ace O'Hara and turbocharged Bremner did fit they do best, looking alert, scoring goals, nae gieing the hame defence ony rest. They cam, they saw, they conquered. Wilson's Warriors come through the mist wi' a victory. Left Hamilton completely befuddled. Greatest Scottish Cup win in Keith FC's history.
Brilliant. How long did it take you to come up with them, Charlie? Just
It depends.
It's you know, I was waiting for the slip up in the rhyming and it never came. It was just it's the whole way through. It's top class. No, I like that. And you came with it gives you a better picture of the day if you weren't there, Kane. It's good in that sense. But you've said you get over 50 of them.
Oh,
aye.
Sometimes it depends. Things will come into your head and will start furling. You start scribbling them down and it just...
Next thing you can, aye.
Sometimes.
Brilliant. Right. So we're going to get a wee bit more into the workings of the club, Charlie, and kind of your involvement. Because you've been involved with, as I said at the start, pretty much all in apart from playing. You done any coaching?
No.
Part of the playing side of things, committee, board, things around historian, things around the grun, people interested that are just need to care about Keith, doing work for the Press and Journal. We'll start off with the board. So you vice chairman?
I'm vice chairman,
Yeah.
aye, yeah.
How long have you been in that role?
I've been with 3 vice chairmen, but bit by bit, different guys left and that. And I've been vice chairman for about 25 years. I came on to the committee 1981.
Yeah.
Started doing stuff. We used to go up to the social club in a Saturday night with my late pal. And there was one Saturday, Alex Rutherford Jr., who was the secretary at the time. He started speaking to us and he'd seen us at games and that. And he was a great lad, Alec, because when he found out our names, he remembered that I'd written to the club via his late dad, Alex Rutherford Senior, when I was at school. He was the president a while back in the day. And so one night before we'd gone home, by the end of the night, I landed being secretary. Dodd Lehman, the physio, long-standing physio, had been there about 50 years. I ended up being the secretary of his testimonial committee.
Okay.
And I ended up having to ring around a lot of the former players. And then I would be doing the following Sunday, the North East of Scotland Youth League. I landed up selling raffle tickets inside the turnstiles. And the thing with Dodd Lehman was, at that time, although he was a club physio, at that time, it entailed running onto the park with a pail of water, a sponge, a bottle of smelling salts, and deep heat.
Aye.
So at the time as well, there's an article in the Green Final that said that I was the secretary and for Dodd's trying to arrange a testimonial game so players could write to me at my address, which they did. And then, round about the same time, Alec Kent had kept records of games and players and scrapbooks and that when I was a loon at school. So I was tasked with producing player pen picks for the match programme for the Scottish Cup tie down at Falkirk, and that would have been December 78. So for the next two and a half years, I was doing that sort of stuff and helping out behind the scenes. Like the week before the Berwick Rangers Scottish Cup tie, I would come up to the social club every night to sell match tickets and hats and scarves and that. And then it was the following February that I was invited on to the committee. And then the following year, the August of 82, I became treasurer. So he was responsible for all the sorting out all the match day monies and seeing to all the bankings and writing up the accounts and that and things to paying things and making up the accounts, bookwork and that to pass on to the accountants for the year-end accounts. So although I'm still the treasurer, seeing to the banking of the monies, etc., we now have a financial director that sees to the bookwork and the paying of bills and that. But back in the day as well, you mucked in and you did everything and anything really. I can remember one summer we had to muck in and we were digging up the 2 goal moors physically with spades and that, ready for reseeding the goal moors. There was a couple of other deep painting work in the summertime. And there was a couple of Scottish Cup ties for Kynoch Park was snowbound, so I asked for volunteers to the game against Cowdenbeath. That's about 24 years ago, clearing the snow. Hindsight was a great thing because we lost 3-1.
At least the game went on, though.
The game went on. But before that, we had a full-time commercial operation, and we were one of the first clubs in Scotland to have a commercial manager. And I worked in a distillery. I ended up working full-time with him. And then when he left to go to Bristol City in 1985, I took on the full-time job. So I was commercial manager for 5 years, overseeing our lottery operation, our weekly draw thing, which was a big with sales reps going out over the northeast of Scotland.
Yeah.
It was quite getting sponsorships and that. I left that in 1990. I stayed on in the committee and being treasurer and things like that kind of can. Folk didn't realise maybe I'm one of the original directors because back in the early 2000s we changed the structure of the club to make it a limited company, and I was one of the original directors, and the original ones along myself sadly have passed away now, but I'm proud to say I'm still in the go. Folk didn't realise how involved it is. They think you just turn up for a game.
Aye.
You just come along at 10 to 3 and hear a drum in the boardroom after a game.
Nah, it's far-fetched.
It doesn't quite work like that. But I reckon it's part-time, as the players are, and there's very few full-time employees at Highland League clubs. And everybody's got jobs. And one of the things new that I'm proud of is I'm now retired, but I was a registrar of births, deaths and marriages.
Yes, of course. Aye.
And it was a bit of a dream really, because a few years ago I was able to conduct a couple of civil marriages at Kynoch Park.
All right, wow. Okay.
So I didn't think there's too many folk could say that.
Aye. Did you ever do any of the players' weddings or anything like that?
I did a player's
Aye.
sister.
Okay.
That wasn't at Kynoch Park. That was in the outskirts of Aberdeen, in the middle of a park. But in order to do any players, was a committee member's daughter that I married. What was the other wedding? It was a guy that comes to regular games, and he got round me to marry his son. I've done a couple of weddings at Bucky Thistle as well, and at Lossy Mouth. But a good bit of a laugh. The first one I did at Kynoch Park, you welcome everybody to the game, and it's me that does the PA announcing at Kynoch Park. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Kynoch Park, and here's the day's teams and that. So for the wedding, and it was at 3:00, I started off by saying, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kynoch Park. Here are today's teams. Oops, sorry, no, it's not a football match, it's a wedding.
On the groom's side. Oh, no, that's brilliant. Just kind of going on the register, you did a few citizenships and things like that as well, did you?
Aye, yeah. My side always starts, of course, weddings. I ended up conducting 852 weddings.
Wow.
And British citizenships, I did 175.
Goodness me. Aye, it's a lot. Like,
and registrars are the only folk in Scotland that can conduct British citizenship ceremonies. And in Murray alone, we've got over 60 different nationalities.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Amazing.
Keeps you busy, Charlie. Right. So, as people have probably figured out, right, by listening to this, Charlie's a bit of a club historian. Whether that's through his own or you are officially Keith FC's club historian, is that right enough?
I suppose I'm unofficial.
Unofficial. I'm just interested. What does it? How do you go about becoming a club historian? Not that I'm interested in doing it because I've just not got the brain for it. But
but I've no brains. I don't think you need a. No, I'm not the brain of Britain. I don't know. I mean,
a good memory.
Well, that's one thing. An avid interest. I would say one thing. I didn't care nothing about Keith FC, despite what some folk maybe say. You're right learning things for a way back that you didn't care. But I would say one requirement would be an avid interest in your club that you follow, and an inquisitive mind. You're right wanting to ken as much about the club's roots. And you're right learning new things. Quite a lot of years ago, I was lucky I was able to pour through old editions of the Banffshire Herald, the Keith paper and that, which were held in the Banffshire Herald office, which is no more in Keith, and they allowed me to take them home. And you could look back at not so much games, but more landmarks in the club's history when they came into the Highland League, when Kynoch Park was opened. One of the very interesting things, I'm deviating maybe slightly, but Kynoch Park was gifted by Sir John Kynoch in 1922.
Okay.
And for the opening of Kynoch Park in February 1922, there was a game played against Elgin City. And Elgin won 1-0, and it was an old shilling, which is 5p admission. But at the time, amongst all the different things and bits and pieces between the Northern Scot and the Banffshire Herald, the reporting things before, leading up to the event of the game and afterwards, there was a presentation made to Sir John Kynoch's wife, Lady Kynoch, of a gold key, inscribed key. And about 10 or 12 years ago, this key surfaced in a charity shop down in England.
Wow.
And this man who collected keys had them in his house. He passed away, and I think it was either his grandson or his nephew, and maybe a wee bit sort of a glide there. But he contacted the club and asked if this would be on use. We said, why?
Aye.
So we've now got it, and it's inscribed. It's a gold key, heavy key, and it's still in the original box, and it's inscribed in little writing in the top of it that this was gifted to Mrs. Kynoch, Isla Bank, which was the name of the big house that they stayed in February 1922.
Goodness me, yeah.
Astonishing.
Your jaw must have dropped when you
I
heard that.
Couldn't believe
Charlie,
it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. But that's the sort of thing. And for a personal viewpoint, look, we've already been saying I'm also a statistician with a shadow interest in facts and figures. That helps.
Yeah.
And I keep my scrapbooks and things. And
How many scrapbooks do you reckon you've got, Charlie, altogether?
probably 50 or 60.
Wow. Aye.
And there are minor information, but I started looking back, obviously because of my age. I wasn't there at the very outset, so I was allowed about 30 years ago by the Johnstons of Buckie, who had the Keith paper at the time, to take home the a year's papers at the time. They were bound together in great big boards. I could take them home and I could pour back. So I've now got every single Keith competitive game line up and scorer when they came into the Highland League in 1924.
Wow.
We've got a wall of fame at Kynoch Park as well, with all the different photos and pennants and things. So folk love it if you're able to show them and tell them wee bits of stories and that. One thing I've found about players and that, they didn't change for the first generation. Players I love, if you're able to tell them at your 100th game a day that you now scored 50 goals or whatever. They love it when you tell them that. My worry just now is I've been doing it since I was 12 or 13 just because I like doing it. There's nobody going about it with showing an interest to do it after I'm kind of gone. They like you to tell them stuff and that. Folk are certainly interested in all that, but you know, fancy I go with that? Oh well.
Aye, that's when the stuttering comes. Absolutely.
Which is a shame because we've a tremendous history at the club. We're proud of the trophies that we've won down through the years and different things, and the different events that's happened, like the erection of the grandstand in 1962 was filmed for Grampian TV, for instance, and that. You can things like that.
Yeah.
And you just find out by looking back at all papers way back in the day.
Aye. So I'm right in saying you're near the man for, if I say, right, what was the score on this date? You probably couldn't do it, but you probably give me the 10 greatest goal scorers in Keith's history, for example, you know.
Oh, aye. I mean, if you was asking my specific games, I would have to look at my records.
Aye.
So I'm quite fly, you see. I'm giving away wee bits of trade secrets here because if we're playing, Keith's playing at home the morning or away from home, and it's in the verge of somebody, we maybe played such and such 15 years ago in the same date, I'll scribble it in my notepad.
Aye.
So I can. And if it's somebody's 100th game, well, I can because I keep a running tally. But if we've got guys, we know we've got hospitality guys coming who played for Keith, I'll look back.
Aye. Give them a wee bit of
I'm not quite mastermind, just off the top of my head. The 10 top goal scorers I could probably rattle off, mind you.
Aye. Give us your top 5 then, Charlie.
Well, Cammy Keith, it's 263 goals.
Yep.
Derek Nichol, 200 goals. Charlie Barber, 125 goals. Darren Stell, 115.
Yeah.
And then there's one or two in 105. Dean Donaldson.
Yeah, Dean. Aye.
Dean, 105. He shares it with Jimmy Cowie Sr., 105. A guy called Alex Grant, played for Elgin City and Keith.
Yeah.
I think he'd 105. Jimmy Cowie Sr. had 104. Keithy Ratter had 101. We've 9 guys that have scored over 100 goals in the club's history.
That's brilliant.
Aye.
It's
not bad, is it?
It's in there somewhere, Charlie. Oh, that's brilliant. Right. Here's the flip side of the question I asked you earlier on. So earlier on I asked you, who's the best player you've seen in Maroon? Who's the best player you've seen play against Keith?
Aye, that's a hard one as well because you tend to forget who's played against your team. But I was scratching my head earlier on in the day and I thought, well, I started thinking, and there's been a few that have been a pest, would you say, against Keith. And I can remember when I was I'd have been hardly 15 and I biked up to watch Keith was playing Inverness Thistle. And it was a season that Keithy Rattery was scoring goals left, right and centre. And biked up. Now, my dad wasn't particularly interested in football, but biked up to the game, watched the game, came home, and he said, well, Keith won a day. No. Did Keithy Rattery score? No. If it was a score, 7-0. Oh, and I said it was a boy called Ian Stephen that scored all 7.
Wow. Aye. How often? I think that's happened very often.
Him and Johnny Cowie, they were a flipping pest. The Donald Mackay at Brora.
Aye.
Ginger, he did for Golspie. Sadly, he passed away a lot of years ago. He was probably Brora Rangers' best player around about that time that they were vying with us for the league. Him and John Sutter, a goalie. That was a time it been Bobby Gray. I was maybe biased, but Bobby was, to me, was a top goalie I've ever seen. But there was him, John Sutter, Billy McDonald at Cali, and Mike McHattie at Peterhead. Top goalkeepers. But Donald was a top. He was a thorn in our side. Dave McKenzie at Broch at Fraserburgh. Blonde-headed Dave. Him and Charlie Elvin had many a tussle. Dave ended up signing for Arbroath. Very skillful midfielder. He was a pest and all. Ian Wilson, when he was at Elgin City.
Yeah.
Ended up an Evertonian.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could see, you didn't need to be
We've had Ian on the show.
He was top notch. Dave Johnston at the Cali, and it was in his latter years, a striker, he made his name at Nairn County, Aberdeen and Hearts.
I think we had Billy Ucker on, and Billy was speaking about that was his idol.
Aye. Billy was a pest and Billy for years, him and Ray McIntosh. Billy, they come down every now and again for speaking about Billy, because Billy was, he blinking scored against Keith, but a couple of years ago, Peter Corbett, who was a Cali and Clach and the Jags and Ross County and that, he gets a few of them together and they come down for the hospitality.
Aye.
So a couple of them were doing earlier last season, but the year before they were doing, and there was him, Billy McDonald, Billy Orchard, Kevin Mann, Johnston Belshaw, Martin Lyle, in Polworth, about 10 or 12 of them. And I took up my scrapbooks for the 84-85 season when we won the league and we beat Carley in the qualifying cup final after 3 games, and Peter and Billy and all them had been playing. But the season before, 83-84, we were top of the league the whole season to the last game of the season.
Yeah.
And we were up at the Carley, and we had a goal chalked off for offside. And Billy scored a header with 13 minutes to go. So they won the league.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were doing, it was a great banter. 2 years ago maybe they were doing it. So it was going on about the 83, 84. And I says, how that, it was offside, Peter says. It was offside, Charlie boy. And I says, I've got a photo in my scrapbooks of you standing in the line. Never. And I says, as for the goal that you scored, Billy, I says, it bounced off your head. Wee. So anyway, showed him the 84, 85 stuff. So they were going to wait to catch the train. And Billy says, here, Charlie boy, there's your scrapbooks. He says, you can burn them. He says, they're obviously a work of fiction. In other words, we didn't win the league in the qualifying cup the following year.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But probably to top of them all, there are toppings, but Charlie Duncan probably would be the number one.
Yeah.
He was part of that great Inverness Thistle side. He was the midfield maestro.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the same at Peterhead and that. And he was just different class.
Aye.
He was, if he was really pinning me really, really doing, it would be him.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah. Aye.
It's when I ask that question, the amount of people that will go probably before the year 2000
Aye.
for players, you didn't get much after that. You know, there's been good players, but
Aye.
they didn't seem to compare to the ones 40, 50 years ago.
No,
you know,
no.
And I don't know what that is, Charlie. It's just
I don't know,
it's a different league these days. It's a physical league, you know, but there's not a lot of skill left in the league, and
no,
it's the way football is these days.
it's the way it is. I mean, I still enjoy watching Keith and other teams playing and that, but you often think it's not quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
But it's everybody's opinions and it's how you see it. I've seen plenty. That's only scratching the surface. Some of that guys, I suppose, it's played against us because you tend to forget who's played against you and been a right pace unless they've ended up playing for you.
Aye, that's true. Aye.
But Raymond O'Hara, actually, although Raymond playing for Peterhead, he used to score goals against us. And then when we signed him, oh, well, he was a great boy.
Aye, exactly. That's what happens. Right, so I'm just going to stop for a quick ad break.
Thank you to Main Motors for being a sponsor or a season ticket holder, but our code word for sponsor, I guess,
Yep.
in the current podcast climate. Since the year 2000, believe it or not. You remember the year 2000?
Briefly.
You remember Y2K?
I'm trying not to give away my age here.
No, well, no, me neither. But I remember they're like, the computers were meant to go and we're in 2026 and it's not happened. But anyway, that aside, since the year 2000, Main Motors has been providing Elgin's motorists with dealer-level garage services, competitive prices and exceptional customer service. They provide repairs, maintenance and servicing on most makes and models of cars and vans, including advanced vehicle diagnostics, wheel alignment and ADAS calibration, and easily match main dealers for accuracy and service quality. Main Motors provides honest and reliable services, and many of their customers have come through to them through word of mouth recommendations. They look forward to winning over many more customers with their outstanding workmanship and values. So you can get in touch with Main Motors on their website, mainmotors.co.uk, and the address for the garage, the dealership, Main Motors, The Wards, Elgin, Murrayshire, IV30 6AA, and the phone number is 01343 548 007.
Take it for someone that used to work in the motor trade. Go local, guys. Don't go for those big companies.
But thank you to Ali Main and the team at Main Motors for being a sponsor for the year.
Absolutely.
You know what? I've been struggling for ideas for this one. I need something to sparky my interest.
I like it.
You see that? Have you had any Sparkies on the podcast lately?
Probably more than I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one in particular.
I wonder who that is. I found it. Don't worry. KFZM.
Bit of a spark on a football pitch as well.
Spark on a football ball, yeah. So you can check that out. Don't put anything in his drink on the way down to a Scottish Cup tie either, as we found out. But KFZM are an official sponsor of the Football Journals for the year 2026. Well, the year starting from when? About end of February, start of March?
Yeah,
we'll double check that, but don't worry. We're thrilled to have a trusted company of professional electricians that is now an official sponsor of the podcast. Established in 2014 and located here in Lossiemouth, KFZM carry out all kinds of electrical work, domestic, industrial and commercial, new build wiring, renovation work, inspection and testing, pat testing, I've had to have that done in here a bunch of times, light design, heating controls and small works. The contact info as follows: kfzmlimited@gmail.com is the email, and to contact Kev 07878730437, and to contact Xander 07525003297. A huge thank you to KFZM for all their support with their sponsorship. We'll continue to bring you the conversations of the biggest legends of the Northeast Scottish football game from all levels on the game on a bi-weekly basis. So yes, cheers Fletty, much appreciated.
If you're enjoying listening to us, follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I might have already said it. And join us on Patreon if you want your episodes early. Next in the house, who have we got next? Darren Shalliker. So if you're listening to this on Patreon, thank you for your Patreon. And you'll continue to get your episodes early for the foreseeable future. Plus, we also have a bonus episode coming this month because I missed out on episodes a couple of weeks ago through my own fault, I will admit. Back to it, Charlie. So I'm going to band these two questions in together because it might be the same answer. I doubt it is. What's your favourite goal from your time involved in Keith?
Oh, right. Well, I've seen so many. Goals in league games, goals in Scottish Cup ties, Cup finals. There's 3 or 4. I was thinking about it, 3 or 4 that really stand out. Would have been a super diving header by Ali Christie against Huntly at Kynoch Park, Christmas time, 1974. It was a 9-goal thriller. It ended up 5-4 for Keith. And Ali, we called him the king of the 6-yard box. And he was only about 5'7", if that. He's probably the best header or a bar that I've ever seen play for Keith. And this diving header, I can see it yet, the back of man for the left wing. And he just dived horizontally for about 12 yards out and just bulleted his header into the roof of the net. And can't mind why the Huntly goalie was, but he just stood and looked. We mentioned Charlie Barber earlier. Charlie had a tremendous shot on him when he went to Till, and he scored an absolute blaster against Brora in the Scottish Cup. January 1985, we won 2-0, and he just hammered it for the edge of the box. Andy Fetis, one of my all-time favourite guys, Andy, powerful guy. He'd a tremendous shot on him. I think the goal that he scored against Peterhead in Aberdeenshire Cup final in 1980, we won 2-0 down at Recreation Park, as it was then, on a Sunday. Raymond O'Hara scored the first in with a header, and Andy hammered this in for about 25 yards, and Mike McHattie never got his hands near it. There was also, this was against Peterhead in the Highland League Cup semi-final in 1974 would have been. No, 75. Jerry Graham hammered a 25-yarder. I think that could have been Mike McHattie. It was just a ferocious shot. But I'd go for the Ian, probably, for my hero, Keith Rattray. It was one of the 4 he scored against Buckie back in 1969. There was 2 of them in particular were for about 35 yards, and one of them, I didn't ken how the net didn't tear away for the rigging. Like, you could almost hear a bar begging for mercy.
Yeah.
So that would be my favourite goal. Necessarily the best team, but that would have been my favourite team. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's my next question. What's the best goal you've seen and witnessed live?
All right, well, things. Well, you can imagine I've seen hundreds. Thousands, I suppose, really, in the flesh. And so many classic goals. The ones I've mentioned, they were great. That one at Jerry Graham's, it was an absolute cracker. But that day we beat Peterhead 4-0. Jerry scored that one. Charlie Elvin scored 2. One of them was for the penalty spot. And the second one, which really sealed our place in the final for the 3rd year in a trot, I can still picture it yet. Jerry Graham got the bar just round about the middle of the centre circle, beat 2 defenders, looked up and just lobbed a perfect pass up into the air for about just to the edge of the box, and Charlie Elvin was running full steam, never drew a stride, let it drop over his shoulder and just hammered it into the net. And it was McCarthy, it was in goals that day, and you should have seen a look in his face, because me and my pal were standing in the railings at the side, just on the edge of the box. And I turned to it was just wow. And I turned to my pal of mine and turning and saying, "Did you see what he just did?" It was just astonishing. I mean, he was running, and how he just let the ball drop over his shoulder, and he didn't break stride, just volleyed it, so that's probably the best goal I've seen.
Brilliant.
I think.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Right, so Keith have had a really good season this season in the Highland League. Considering where they've been the last couple of seasons, I think they've got a really good manager in. Built a good solid squad, maybe a couple of additions away for actually maybe being able to push towards that top end of the table. So my question is, Charlie, if you could pick one player from Keith FC's history to add into the current squad, who would you pick and why would you pick him?
Oh, dearie me, my head's going to explode. Just thinking about it. Right, I'll just go for it because you could name umpteen different things, so I'm just going for it. A guy, sadly, that I never saw playing competitively. I saw him in Dodd Lemon's testimonial game back in 1978, and he still hid it then. I met him a couple of times a few years later at Kynoch Park. Now, it'd be a guy called Jimmy Woodcock.
Okay.
The older generation back in the day used to say that he was the best centre-half they ever saw play in the Highland League. He wasn't the tallest. He would have been about 5'8", but he had this ability to jump.
Aye.
And he was an absolute colossus. Alex Rutherford Sr. signed him in 1957. He was freed by St Johnstone. He'd had a great career with Raith Rovers, I think, briefly, and then St Johnstone, and he was freed by them. So Alex Rutherford signed him, and he, for 8 years, he hung up his boots in 1965. For that period of 8 years, he was captain when Keith won their first ever league title, 61-62. Captained the side to their first ever Highland League Cup in 1964, in front of 4,000 folk at Burra Briggs, when he was 41.
Wow.
Captain Keith to their first 2 qualifying cup wins, 1960 and 62, won an Aberdeenshire Cup, played in 3 Aberdeenshire Cup finals, won one of them. Apparently he was as tough as teak, and when I met him, he still looked tough as teak. I think he brought a level of professionalism and experience that had never been seen at Keith before. There was all sorts of things. This was stories for Dode Lemon quite a few years later about folks smoking, and I think that was all stopped. Training, he took the training, and he'd been in the army and everything, and he was just an absolute driving force. He played against Keith in 1968. He came on as a sub for Fraserburgh and he was 46.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't see the game, but going by the reports, he still looked...
Still could do it.
So I think he'd be the perfect fit. And as a side thing, we've actually got a pair of his boots in one of the display cabinets at Kynoch Park in our Wall of Fame. And I finish off telling folk about the history of the club and pointing them out in the 64 League Cup winning side. And that guy there, he was just short, 3 weeks short of his 41st birthday when we beat Nairn County there and blah, blah. And then you go along, that's him there. Then you take these big, brown, hard as knob-nailed boots. And you see those boots? That's Jimmy Woodcock's boots.
Aye, solid things. Aye.
Oh, aye.
Proper boots.
Proper boots. Oh, aye. So, no, Jimmy, I've ken different era for me, but I think he would be a guy that would probably fit in and
aye, absolutely.
And be a master in the park and in the dressing room as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go ahead one. I'm just going to ask you, because you're a vice chairman, you know. You've Keith fan all your life. Any hopes or ambitions for the club in the future? Anything you'd like to see?
Well, but I've seen a lot I've been involved in a lot of very good times, bad times, not very bad times, but some hard times. Won a string of trophies. I haven't been party to because it's a players that win them, but I've been proud to say I've been involved in the background, the odd man and that. I would say I live a dream. I go up to Kynoch Park most days to check our mailbox. We have a mailbox in the Kynoch Park wall in Ballach Road, and I'll unlock the side gate and slide it open and go in and stand and just look around and soak in the memories of the place. But I think I look on us at the moment as being custodians of the club. And although it's difficult to compete with moneyed clubs, I think we've showed in recent seasons that we're on the right road.
Aye, I think so.
You mentioned Craig Ewen earlier on. I think, well, Craig was quite rightly voted Manager of the Year by his peers at last week's Highland League dinner. A tremendous accolade because he's only the second Keith manager to win the award. Martin Allen won it in 2002, 2003. And we showed a massive improvement, and I may be split in here because although we finished 7th, it was actually 6th equal with the same points as Banks had. But Ken, it was 20 odd points more than we'd had the season before.
And if you look at the teams that finished either level with you, above you, far bigger budgets than Keith.
Aye.
Far bigger budgets.
We went on an incredible run at the beginning of October, and I mean, I didn't mind telling you, we were sitting thinking, well, we're just above Rothas with 12 points for, was it 12 games or something, thinking, well, this isn't very good. It wasn't 12 points, it wasn't as much as that. We went up to Nairn and won 2-0, and it just kicked on for then. We lost twice the rest of the season, and I don't think there was anybody could say Keith were lucky the day.
No.
Really. And a lot of it was attributed to the manager and his management team, Chris Crabe and Rod McKinnon. They got the boys playing for them. There's great banter in the dressing room. He'll acknowledge when they've played well, and he can right and go at them, and I've heard them if they haven't.
Aye.
If they haven't done, I mean, what he does in the cane is mind-blowing. Playing Nairn County a couple of seasons ago, and I can't mind the player's name. They ended up a 1-1 draw, and I was doing the P&J after the game, and I was speaking to him in the dugout. So did you make of that? Well, probably a draw was fair, but I reckon we should have won. But if they'd listened to what I'd said about this boy coming up the wing and cutting in and putting it onto 1 foot onto there and pinging it across, and they didn't, and that's what he did.
That's what he did. Aye, level of detail that, isn't it? It is. Aye, got to do your research, and
Aye.
no, I'm a big fan of Craig and what he's done at his time at Keith so far. I think, as you say, well, if you look at the teams above you, you could Brora Rangers' budget compared to everybody else in the league and things like that. Mm-hmm. And as you say, there's nobody you can say Keith got lucky today. You're in a game when you play against Keith these days, and.
Yeah, he tries to set his teams out. And, last season, I suppose, in particular, we beat all the teams above us, apart from Brora. We drew up at Brora. Mm-hmm. Swept us aside at the start of the season down at Kynoch Park, but we drew it for Martin, beat for Martin at Kynoch Park, drew at Bankside, beat them at Kynoch Park, won up at Clach, won at Fraserburgh.
Yeah.
Drew down at Brechin. So it was all... the players all play for him. Mm-hmm. And he'll be looking to kick on, I'm sure, this coming season. Be a bit of a target on their back, probably, because, Keith finished far they did, so we'll have to have a go at them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he'll be well prepared.
I'd say so. All the best to them.
So... no, I would like to think that we're on the right track. We've got a good youth development. Mm-hmm. But one local guy, Scotty Barron, who was signed a couple of years ago, and he was in and out the first season. Last season, he was a mainstay and had a tremendous season. We've just signed another local guy in the last couple of days. So our youth development thing, it's a hard work and development, and just bit by bit, you might end up with a couple of players coming through and out. And it's one of the ways to go. We're a family club. We've been trying in recent years to integrate ourselves with the local community. I've been going to the Keith Grammar School to watch the loons playing football at dinner times, and we've given them training bibs and training fed boys and everything. Mm-hmm. Apart from me being in the position I'm in, my wife Fiona is the secretary. Our chairman, Andy Troop, he's a go-ahead guy. It wants success and is good with the management and the players and that as well. Yeah. And his mum and dad, John and Judy, they're heavily involved in things like a ground maintenance and in match day things and that. So we're a family club at our work together. Absolutely. Get on well and that, and a good banter and the odd argument and that, which
it's healthy. It's healthy.
Which happens then.
It does. Running all the great clubs, Charlie. Absolutely. Right, before I've already done sponsors. I'm getting ahead of myself tonight. Best 11, Charlie. So you could have thousands of names in here. Aye. You probably feel like you've maybe missed out a few and that, but as I says to you in the message, you can hear a bench, so it gives you a bit up. And I think, I don't know what the rules are these days. I think you have up to about 9 players on your bench these days, which is it used to just be one.
Aye. When I used to watch Keith playing, when I used to bike up, there would be 11 players in the park and one sub.
Yeah.
And
the one sub was somebody who could play all the positions as well, wasn't it? It was a utility player.
Yeah. So if he came on and there was an injury, well, too bad. You used to play with 10 players.
Aye, absolutely.
But then it progressed to 2 subs and then 3, and then it was 3 for 5, and now it's 5 for 9. Now as a PA announcer, I have to admit it does my head in, because you're watching a game, it's when Keith's playing at home. And right, Bucky's taking on 3 boys. Oh, Keith's taking on 3 boys. Oh, flipping heck.
6 at once. It's mad. That's absolutely mad.
But no, so what I've done, I've got my first 11 and I've got 9 subs. And I've missed boys out because it's not possible to... do you want a brief explanation as to why I've picked them? Or?
So what we'll do, Charlie, is if you read through your first 11...
Yep.
And then we'll pick out a couple of names.
Okay.
And then we'll go through your bench. We'll pick out a couple of names as well.
Okay. So I really had to pour out this big time. So my first 11 would be Bobby Gray, Bruce Skipper Martin, Ian Cuptie Mackay, Mike Dulgarno, Eric Wilson, Andy Fettis, Mike Winton, Charlie Elvin, Kevin Bremner, Raymond O'Hara and Hamish French.
Wow.
And in my subs bench, and I hope Cammy doesn't stop speaking to me, but I've got Cammy Keith, Darren Still, Derek Nichol, Ali Christie, Louis Duncan, Ian Thane, Keith Rattray, John Curran and Paul Wisely.
It's, the thing is, that subs bench is equally as good as, it's mental.
Yeah.
A name that kept coming up tonight was Derek Nichol.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say I'm not old enough because I'm in my mid-30s. I didn't get to experience Derek as a striker.
No.
But I've seen him as a fullback plenty of times. Right, and you says off the top you had 200 goals for the club.
Scored 200.
Aye.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a return.
Aye. He was top scorer like 5 or 6 seasons on the trot. Come to us when he was about 22. Aye. He was top scorer in the Millennium Championship 1999-2000. Ended up along with Darren Still, but they both won 11 winners' medals for Keith.
Wow. Is that the most in the club?
Well, Mike Dulgarno's the most. He's got one more. He's got 12.
Okay.
Dally. He started off as a centre forward. He come from Sunnybank in 1972 and then he was converted to a central defender along with Eric Wilson.
Yeah.
But no, Derek ended up his 200th goal. He scored it in Varuri and he was playing at the back by then. He ended up playing 582 games for Keith.
Wow. Aye.
And he got a bad leg injury. I think it was at Inverurie. Was he carried off and I'd finished his career because he was playing at the back and he could have played till he was 40.
Aye.
He really could have. And a lot of time for Derek, such a nice guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a type of goal scorer. It sounds daft because he scored 200 goals. He wasn't one of those lethal snapshot kind of guy. He wasn't like wee Raymond,
Yeah.
he was the most lethal goal scorer I've ever seen. He was just deadly.
Mm-hmm.
But Derek just did this knack of scoring goals for our place.
Aye.
As Cammy was.
It's so another name that's came up to me, and it was Mark Duncan who actually had him, and Mark Duncan gave us the best 11 outside of Bucky players that he's seen. Cuptie Mackay was in there.
All right.
He named him as one of the best players he's ever seen.
Aye.
Give us your view on Cuptie Mackay.
Aye. Cuptie. He's one of these guys. He was a quiet lad off the pitch, or quietish.
Mm-hmm.
On the park, it was like somebody flicking a switch.
Aye.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Signed him for Fraserburgh just before Bobby Wilson come to Keith. The tail end of the 77-78 season, and Bobby come just a few weeks after that season finished, and Cuptie just fit it in right away. He was a goal scoring defender, goal scoring fullback. He ended up scoring something like 21 goals for Keith, and he played something like 480 games or something for Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up as captain, won leagues, qualifying cup, and he ended up as assistant manager to Jim Hamilton in the 90s, actually.
Yeah.
79-80 was probably his best season. They scored 112 goals that season. Cup tie scored 7 of them. And he was voted man of the match against Berwick Rangers in the Scottish Cup tie at Kynoch Park. So although we lost, he was voted man of the match.
Yeah.
There was clubs after him, but he never went. I'd be telling a lie. I think I recall Hibs were one of the clubs that were interested in him. He was big and he was strong.
Yeah.
And he was quick. And there wasn't much went past him. And he liked pushing up the park. And they were like extreme. He was big and tall and strong on one side. And wee Brucey Martin, skipper, was like 5'4" at the other side. And his grit and determination was second to none as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Charlie. Mike Winton, obviously, sadly passed away recently. I bit too young for when he was at Elgin and things like that, managing and things. But as a player, he says he was very quick.
Oh, aye, very fast. He come from Isle of Veil, and he was only 17 or 18, and you could see he'd something about him. He was very fast, strong. Part of the 3 in a row league championships and league cups. He scored in 3 of the league cup, or 2 of the league cup finals wins. The third in Ollie Christie scored all 3 against Ross County. But Mike had a tremendous pace, powerful, and he'd a venomous shot, tremendous shot. He ended up scoring 79 goals in 306 games for Keith. Super guy. Used to meet him up his street. Super guy. And he used to come to the match day hospitalities when the boys were coming out, you can.
Yeah.
And there was great banter between him and Curran, because John Curran scored 8 goals more than him.
Okay, it's a lot in that. When you're taking that terms, like, it's a lot.
And Winty would say to me after he did a drama too, Charlie, that can't be right. Curran scored more than me, sadly, Mike. Yeah. And he would say, aye, but his were all tappy hands. Mine was all blistering dries.
That's quality. Call me Keith. So I've had Cammy on before, a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Give you the time of the day all day long.
Right.
Can you, because Cammy evolved as a player, you know, when he was 19 compared to when he was 30, 2 different players. Which one did you prefer?
I didn't think I'd only preference, because
the goals were consistent.
The goals were consistent. He was playing for us. Him and Jamie Lennox, he was another one that was freed by Aberdeen.
Aye.
His dad was Stevie Lennox. It was with Stoke City, and came up to play star for Peterhead and Huntly. And a great player, tremendous player, Stevie, and super guy. And Jamie was a chip off the old block. Between the two of them, the terrible twins, they wreaked havoc in the youth games on a Sunday after having played in the first team on a Saturday. But they were playing when they were 16 and 17 for the first team. And that 2006-7 championship win and the League Cup and District Shield, Cammy was a top scorer with 26 goals.
Yeah. Did Cammy's brother play for Keith
Sean?
as well?
Shawnee was very skillful, tremendous skill. At the end of that season, Cammy went away to Binghamton in America for a soccer scholarship. Said he would come back, and he did.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling him for Martin United for, I think it was about 30,000. And he always said he wanted to finish his career at Keith. And he did.
Yeah.
And he ended up scoring, and I didn't, a record will not be broken in my lifetime anyway, 263 goals in 336 games.
It's an unreal record.
Just nonsense.
Aye.
Nonsense. And such a nice guy. Yep. Right. Such a nice guy. It was difficult keep putting him into my first 11. The reason I had Kevin and Raymond was because it was their partnership that was
the one a
so
lot.
deadly.
Aye,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
Cammy would have been a shoe-in.
Would Bobby Wilson have been your gaffer of that 11?
Ooh.
Because we've had Barry on.
Oh, aye.
We spoke to Barry
Aye.
a couple of years ago now, and he was he spoke a lot about his old man and things like that. And I think a lot of people we've had in here have either been coached by him, managed by him, and very, very highly respected guy.
Oh, aye. No disrespect, because we've had a lot of top managers, no disrespect to Martin Allen or other guys we've had. Darren himself ended up manager, winning the League Cup, but no, Bobby, I think, would be in charge. He won 3 in a trot with us. He went to Raith Rovers, then went up to Ross County and won 2 league championships there.
Yeah.
Now, they were bottom of the Highland League.
Aye.
You see, I tells my fin. Bobby phones, the occasions. But I don't know if he was ahead of his time, and I wouldn't say that. But everybody respected him.
Aye, yeah.
And the guys that I have rattled off in my first 11, he's been doing a couple of times, near recently, but they still call him boss.
Aye. It's a shine of respect that.
Colin Hendry would probably say that he was the guy that gave him his founding, really, because he was training at the back of, at the grandstand at the back of Kynoch Park, when we had a Murray contingent from guys like Paul Wisely and Neil Fivey, these guys. Colin Kerr and that used to come through and train.
Yeah.
And Colin would train with Dodie Simmers and Dod Simmers Senior and Mike went in that. And Bobby would take the training here and Jimmy Wilson would do it in Aberdeen.
Aye.
But no, I never heard anybody say a bad word about Bobby, and just extolled his virtues really as a coach and a manager as well.
Absolutely.
Aberdeen respected him.
They did.
Still do. Yep.
Right, so before getting our last question, thank you very much for your time tonight, Charlie. It's been good to look at a club. No, I don't know of Keith, but I didn't know this much. Obviously, don't know as much as you. I don't think anyone ever will. As you say, that challenge is up. If a younger one wants to take that on, come and learn something. But no, it's been good to get a deep dive, because I'm probably being a bit ageist here. I'll know stuff for the last 10, 15 years, but to go back on the treble winning 3 in a row team and Scottish Cup days and things like that. It's good to get somebody who's an inside, who's been there for it all, and many more to come, hopefully.
I hope so.
Last question's always the same, Charlie. If you're a penalty to save your life, who takes your penalty?
Oh boy, a lifesaver, eh?
Aye. No, somebody's going to sky it on purpose.
No, right. It's another difficult one. No, and again, the first terminology is right, but there's been a few dead-eye dicks for the penalty spot in my time, lethal. It's now impossible to pick one. We touched on our all-time top scorer, Cammy Keith here. He's 263 goals, and he holds a record for 48 penalties scored for a club. Charlie Elvin scored 25, and Andy Fetis, and he scored, I think, 23. They all took different types of penalties. Andy used to really hammer his ones. Charlie used to place them as Cammy did. And I think I saw Charlie miss one.
Yeah.
And I think I maybe saw Cammy miss one. So I'm going to sit in the fence here. I'm hopeless and make my mind up. So what I'm going to say is I'd pick both Cammy and Charlie and ask them to toss a coin between them. Because both of them are equally adept.
Yeah.
And I would be safe in both their football boots. I would have no qualms about it.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think when we spoke to Cammy and we asked him the questions, we asked everyone the same question. His technique was to put it across the goalie and try and get the side netting.
Right.
And obviously worked very well for him. He didn't miss much.
No, he didn't.
And as you say, Charlie, he probably took less than Cammy took, but
he did.
Still a very high accuracy percentage.
Yep.
Great answer. Thank you very much for your time, Charlie. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Lee. I hope nobody's falling asleep.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of the Football Journals. If you want to support the show and get access to your episodes early, then head over to Patreon, patreon.com/footballjournals, capital F, capital J, where for just £5 a month, you can get access to your Football Journals episodes early, as well as a catalogue of episodes that were released as video only on Patreon. Alternatively, if there's just one episode you cannot wait for without a subscription, you can purchase an episode for a one-time payment. It all goes a long way to helping Lee keep bringing you these podcast episodes on a bi-weekly basis. That said, if you can't afford it, don't worry, you can support the show by watching or listening on the many platforms the podcast is on for free: YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Whilst you are there, if you can leave the show a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple, if that's where you get your podcasts, or leave a wee like and subscribe on YouTube if that's the weapon of choice you have where you consume your podcasts. Make sure you've turned bell notifications on for whatever platform you're watching or listening on, so you're alerted every time that a new episode releases. If you also want to keep up to date with what's going on with the Football Journals, with reels, raffles, giveaways and updates, then be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok at, all lowercase, the Football Journals Podcast. And if you want to get in touch with becoming a season ticket holder, gaining access to advertisement and a free year's Patreon subscription, among some of the other perks that you'll get out of that, then get in touch with us either via the podcast socials or email us at footballjournalspod@gmail.com. Thank you for all the continued support, and we shall see you in the next episode.